Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to illustrate the biomechanics behind some of the most important techniques and procedures that are essential in cooking and baking. The goal will be for me to provide some advice for all of you on how to prevent injury and improve your performance so that all of your baked goods taste delicious every time. Let's get started. The first concept I want to discuss relates to the biomechanical principle of joint kinematics. In the kitchen, perhaps the most important tool you have are your hands. From slicing to mixing, your wrist joint and hand dexterity are essential for a variety of methods and techniques. The first one that I would like to touch on involves a staple piece of equipment for any chef, the whisk. Whisking is often used for incorporating ingredients with the intent of keeping the consistency light and smooth. That's why whisks look the way that they do. The curved wires and round shape of the whisk introduce air into a mixture, which is crucial for some dishes like meringues, or making chocolate mousse. I'm going to whisk some egg whites to the desired stiffness. I use my index finger to maintain control of the whisk and move my wrist in a vigorous circular motion. Again, this is introducing air into the egg whites to make them frothy and light, which is what we want. One of the primary movements at the wrist joint is that of flexion. Palmar flexion, or slight tilting of the wrist towards the palm, occurs during whisking. This motion is sustained for several minutes and can become kind of grueling. Let's take a look at what's happening inside the wrist joint. Flexor tendons that attach to the carpal bones transfer the force produced by the muscles of the forearm. Repetitive flexion in the wrist increases the fluid pressure in the joint space by thickening the tissue lining the tendons within the wrist joint. When these tendons become inflamed, they can compress on the median nerve, which is painful and debilitating. This condition is better known as carpal tunnel syndrome. It can be alleviated by using a hand mixer, or my personal favorite kitchen gadget, the stand-up mixer. It even comes with a whisk attachment, which reduces the strain of whisking by hand and prevents injury. The second concept I want to discuss is all about muscle fatigue. Food prep can definitely put your upper body strength to the test. One example is something that I do a lot in the kitchen, making use of the grater. I use the grater for its obvious purpose, grating cheese, but I also use it when I make one of my favorite quick breads, zucchini bread. When I grate the zucchini, I hold the grater firmly with one hand and grip the zucchini with the other, making quick, repetitious movements up and down. Holding the zucchini and grater firmly in place requires my muscles to exert a sustained contractile force. The muscle fibers will consume the available fuel sources in order to continue generating force. However, performing the work to grate the zucchini can lead to muscle fatigue when the energy sources are consumed faster than they can be replaced. This leads to a decreased force output, which means my grating will become sloppy and inefficient, which puts me at a higher risk of grating my own finger, and it can cause arm discomfort if pain receptors are stimulated by buildup of chemical waste products. The third concept I'd like to discuss has to do with ground reaction forces. Baking can be a meticulous process where you're required to stand for long periods of time. I experience this when I glaze muffins, frost cookies, and an unavoidable part of the baking process, washing the dishes. I end up having sore feet or even back pain. This is because of the ground reaction forces acting upwards on my body. The distribution of this pressure over the soles of the feet is not even, and more force is taken up by some parts of the sole than others. The uneven pressure application can irritate the plantar fascia, resulting in foot pain. My advice is to avoid bare feet in the kitchen. This is unsafe as you may be working with hot liquids or sharp objects. You should wear shoes that provide cushion and arch support. Also, your posture is extremely important. By maintaining an upright posture, you can minimize the moment arm of the vertical ground reaction force acting on your spine. This in turn minimizes the muscle force and joint reaction forces acting on your intervertebral discs. Less force production acting on these joints means there is much less stress acting on the fibrocartilage and reduces risk of injury. In summary, take breaks if you start to feel fatigued or uncomfortable. There's usually no harm in pausing during the baking process to take a breather. Remember that there are appliances that can make your life a lot easier in the kitchen. Last but not least, remember the importance of supportive footwear and good posture. Baking is about precision, attention to detail, and having skillful hands, but it's also about being creative and doing what works best for you. And when in doubt, don't be afraid to throw in some chocolate chips. Happy baking!